Let's create a new brand in Guidelines. There are two places that you can create a brand in Guidelines. The first is when you're creating a new brand Guidelines website, and the second is on the Brands tab. You can see here that I've started to create my new Guidelines website, and if I click Next, it'll give me the opportunity to create a new brand. I could, of course, go up to the Brands tab and create it there, but let's go ahead and create one right here instead. Now, when we create a new brand, there's a number of elements which come into it. I don't have to fill in everything now, but the more I fill in, the more styled my brand Guidelines website will be. So the first thing I'm going to do is add a few logos. Vector formats are always better than raster formats, so I'm going to use an SVG file for these. You can see here that I've got a number of different SVGs for my brand. I'm going to upload them all and just let Guidelines arrange them for me. Now, it's going to pull out some important information, like the colors and the names, and it's going to give me a chance to add those colors in a second, just down here. Before I do though, I might just want to rearrange these to my liking. So I'm going to put our main logo first. You can see that I've also got an icon and a word mark. So I'm going to bring the word mark to the end, and I'm going to preference the light version of the logo because I like that and I want to use that more than I do the dark version of the logo. You can see here for every logo we have that there's an opportunity to add different file formats. So I might add an RGB file format, maybe a PNG or a JPEG, or I could give people that are working with this brand the opportunity to download the CMYK files as well. Maybe that's an Illustrator file or an EPS. So I can add those here if I like. The next part of our brand is colors, and you can see that we've already had a few colors which have been brought in automatically from our logos. So I'm going to start adding a few of these that I know we're going to need down the track. When we're adding our colors, we can also sort and arrange them like we can our brands. And clicking on a color reveals some of the options that we have. We can define our digital colors, and when we want to make a change, that applies across all of the values for hex, RGB, and HSL. But there's some other colors which require a little bit of judgment from a designer. So what the CMYK color or the Pantone might be that you're choosing for your brand, you can specify that here. If you want to, you can also specify some of the options for coded and uncoded finish options. That might be a nice way to give print designers who are working with your brand more specific instructions when you're talking about color. When we're happy with our color, and look, this is quite a simple brand with only a few colors, we'll go down to fonts. Now, there's a number of ways to get fonts into Guidelines. If you have purchased the license for a font, you can upload it here. Today, we're going to use a few different fonts. I'm going to use one from Google. I'm going to choose Work Sans, and I'm going to use this one here. The next font that I'm going to choose is going to be from Adobe Fonts, and to get that, I'm going to need the Adobe Project ID. So to do that, I'll add another font here, and then I'll select Adobe. Now, I also know the font name. The font is called Owners, and I'm going to save that as well. With both fonts in the system, I can now start looking at my typography styles. We've created a few for every brand to get started, which is our 3 different heading styles and a body and some fine print. But maybe I want to make a few changes. In fact, I want to use this new Owners font for my main headings. And actually, I want to make this a little bit larger, potentially control the letter spacing a little. Once I save that, you can see the preview here in my typography styles. The same goes for some of these other font families, and I might just save these typography styles as well. Now, with anything in your brand, you can always, as a designer, come back and edit and update as you go. You don't have to get everything right at once. So when you're editing your brand Guidelines website and you realize that you needed to add another color, maybe a background color or an interface color, you can always come back to this branding screen, even from within the editor itself. So your brand is a living document. You can decide who can have the edit and access rights to it, but brands change over time, and so this is why we've created brands with some editability. In the next step, we're going to be going forward and making a template, so if you want to follow along on our tutorial videos, you can do that.